Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Now, today, on the table in front of us, we have got a new knife from Spyderco. This is the Spyderco Canis. And, you know, I have a fairly good size Spyderco collection, it turns out. I was excited to get this because it is one of their more interesting and unique knives, and I like that when they do that. But I don't love this knife. And, you know, that's just kind of the way it is. Now, this is a purpose-built combat knife. The designer has a history of combat understanding, and apparently he is an anti-terrorist guy, and he's, you know, he's in that realm and in that world. I'm not. So this knife is sort of purpose-built, but it is purpose-built a little too far. Now, let me explain what I mean. This is the Yojumbo. And this also is a fighting knife designed by Janich. It is purpose-built for a particular form of martial art and for knife combat. However, because of the way that this knife is designed, it also is one of the best EDC knives I've ever had. Now, there is no belly, so if your EDC requires a lot of work on a cutting board, this is not the knife for you. But for everything else that you do in the day, rope, string, packages, straps, cardboard, whatever, the Yojumbo is a phenomenally good knife. Now, the Canis, which is, to be fair, more comfortable in the hand than the Yojumbo and has a longer cutting edge, is leaned into that sort of combat mentality so that the blade actually comes down to a point. So it leans back up to the handle. So inasmuch as the Yojumbo is not great for cutting board work, because it is a flat linear line from here to here and then the handle is above it, you can do it. You know, it's great for draw cuts. The Canis, because of its shape, is sort of a boomerang. And that means that you cannot get the back of the knife down on a cutting surface no matter what you do. Don't get me wrong. It is excellent for push cuts and draw cuts, in pull cuts. It's very good. It's just a little more limited than the Yojumbo, and I think that's why I haven't fallen in love with it. But some people really do like it. It is very interesting looking, and I want to reiterate, it is very comfortable in hand. It comes with the standard Spyderco spoon clip, which does not hotspot. The ergonomics of the handle are remarkable for a larger hand like mine. I fit perfectly. The thumb ramp back here on the blade, as I said, for push cuts, this thing is really well suited. It is hollow ground, S30V. This large swedge here is designed to lighten the blade, which is cool, and it leaves it with a very robust tip. If you're going to do any stabbing, particularly from the hammer grip, this thing is, well, very well suited for it. And again, because it's a fighting knife, that makes a lot of sense. It just turns out that I don't do a lot of knife fighting, despite my many references to gas station fights. It's just not something I do. So let's get some specs out of the way. What do you get for your $192? Well, you get 3.5 inches on 3.5 inches, just under 3.5 inches of cutting on 3.5 inches of S30V. The grip area is 1, 2, 3 and 3/4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and 3/4 right here to this sort of nub, and then of course you do have the tail end. If you need to get your finger down a little farther, you can. The overall knife, in its very strange sort of boomerang shape, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.25 inches long. It is a full-size knife. But if you want a full-size fighting knife, you can get one of these. This is the new Yojumbo. It is a terrible name for an excellent knife. For all of the reasons that this is a fantastic EDC, the Yojumbo, which is more blade and more handle than the Canis, is just a bigger version of the Yojumbo and offers much of the same features and functions. But I'm not here to sell you a knife, I'm here to tell you about a knife. let's do some size comparisons with knives you may be more familiar with. Here it is against the PM3. As you can see, it is considerably larger than that. Let's move this down a little bit. And here it is against the PM2. So lengthwise, overall, the Canis and the PM2 are very similar. It's a little tiny bit shorter. You do get a little more cutting surface on the Canis than you do on the PM2. But, of course, because of this marvelous leaf-shaped blade on the PM2, it is a marvelous EDC tool that also works very well if you're doing something on a cutting board. Again, the Canis is not going to do that for you. Now, what does the Canis do for you? Well, again, it's very cool looking. I hated it, actually, when I saw pictures of it. But when it landed here in person, I realized that it does have a certain kind of aggressive charm. It does. And so it is a very cool looking knife. And yet it's not so, you know, scary looking that if you pull this thing out at the office, people are going to lose their stuff. It isn't. And also, one thing it does is pocket very well. It is an 1 3/4 this way. It takes up a little bit of real estate, but it's a very smooth in and out of the pocket experience. There are some real high points to this knife. It's just not really the knife for me. Let's go ahead and weigh it out so you know what you get when you do put it in your pocket. There we go. And the magic scale will zero. Hey, why are we on grams? There we go. Okay, so the Canis comes in at 4 ounces. A PM2, now mind you, mine has an aftermarket backspacer, so that's not going to be 100% even. But even with the backspacer, is 4.1, so it's about 3.8, I think, 3.9, without the additional backspacer that I put in there. So these knives are very competitive for pocket size and overall sort of EDC use. They weigh about the same. It really is going to come down to which one you like better, which one's going to serve your needs better. For me, it's the PM2. For you, it may well be the Canis. Now let's do this. So this was 4 ounces. The Yojumbo is 4.1. And the big brother Yojumbo is 5.2. So this is a considerably heftier knife than this. Now I know Yojumbos are a little harder to come by, and the Yojumbo is sold out everywhere, but they will be available. The Canis is available. So if you're looking for something that's a little more knife fighty, this may very well be the tool for you. I'm curious about the blade stock. So let's measure that out real quick. It is showing up. There we go. Just a hair over 3 millimeters at the thickest point back here. So it's sort of standard Spyderco stock. The handle at its thickest, and there's no thickest because it's even all across, is 10 millimeters or 0.43 of an inch. This really does have a nice pocket profile. In the end, for me, any number of knives sort of do the job that the Canis does, but I already have these. If you don't, and you're looking for a knife that will serve as a sort of aggressive fighting tool, that has a nice robust tip for stab cuts and draw cuts, has a lovely hollow grind so that it is very slicey, and rides the pocket very well, I think you would really enjoy the Canis. On the other hand, some of you may be looking at this knife and saying it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen and you're never going to have one, and I understand that too. But, to be fair, it is purpose-built. So I think that's where we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. The Canis is a completely functional knife with some EDC limitations. It is very strong in the places that it was designed to be strong in, however. So if you're looking for a unique Spyderco, something different from what everyone else has, that will do 90% of your EDC tasks exceptionally well, the Spyderco Canis may very well be the knife for you. I'm still deciding if it's the knife for me. We'll see down the road a little bit. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I've been a Therapeutic Edge. This has been the Spyderco Canis. If you have any questions about this or any of the knives on my channel, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you next time.